For more on this, let's bring in former Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Mark, when you look at the amount of spending in the first 100 days, as we are at day 100 right now, it's $6 trillion. There's a new metric. It seems that every spending bill has got to be $2 trillion, if not a little bit more. But the big question is, do we need all this spending right now? The economy seems posed for a huge uptick, which President Trump, we should point out, predicted. Does all this spending risk the economic recovery?
Of course it does. I mean, when you look at this, when you look at the amount of spending that Joe Biden and his Democrat leftist agenda colleagues are proposing, this is all about buying votes in certain cities. This is about $80 billion for Amtrak that over 50 years has never figured out how to actually make money on the concession when you have a monopoly with your riders. They can't even operate efficiently, and yet we're going to give them more of the hardworking American taxpayer dollars? I don't think so. Listen, when you look at their plan, this is all about getting major dollars to a few cities in their transportation. I was on the transportation committee when I was a member of Congress, and when we start to see the level of spending, they say, well, they're spending like drunken sailors. Drunken sailors, honestly, are more responsible than Joe Biden.
John McCain used to say it's an insult to drunken sailors. We just saw the president mounting the belly steps there of Air Force One as he's headed to Philadelphia for that Amtrak event. The president was asked on NBC about this very topic, whether or not this spending is needed to boost the economy or if it would endanger it. Here's what the president said.
That's the reason why it's recovering, because we're investing. Look how rapidly it's recovered since we passed the last piece of legislation. And that legislation was $1.9 trillion. If we don't invest in this country, we're going to actually we're going to fall behind even further.
But contrast that with what the Wall Street Journal said in an editorial. It said, quote, Mr. Biden wants to take credit for rescuing an economy in flames, but Democrats in Washington have been dousing dead embers. The economy was poised to accelerate as vaccines rolled out, no matter who was president. Your thoughts?
Well, listen, this is all about Joe Biden taking credit for a number of things that President Trump did and put in place before he left office. You know, it's amazing that Joe Biden can somehow try to convince the American people he's done something in 100 days when 48 years in the Senate obviously didn't result in much that would be on a resume to applaud. And so when we look at that, we do know that it will have a chilling effect. The massive spending that they're talking about will have a chilling effect. Why? It will go to pet projects. It will create inflationary risk. What we'll see is not just a robust economy, but we'll see one that's retreating the other way. Let us have fiscal restraint. Let the economy continue to grow jobs like it was in the last quarter of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021.
Mark, critics of this say that this is not just about spending. This is about growing government and growing dependence on government, that this is sort of a cradle-to-grave approach at big government. And Brit Hume was saying the other night that even if Republicans were to take control of one or both houses of Congress, that this spending isn't likely to go away anytime soon because of this reason. Listen to Brit here.
Republicans can get control of the House and Senate and pass bills to repeal all that stuff, but the president will be able to protect them with his veto. So those things are going to be with us. If he can pass them, those things are going to be with us a while.
The president does have the power of the veto pen, and it's not likely that you could find a two-thirds majority in Congress to override it.
Well, you wouldn't be able to override it, and that's why the critical defense is really with a few moderate Democrats in the House and more bluntly in the Senate. That's where the fight has to have. Brett is exactly right. But here's the other interesting fact, is if you continue to look at what they're going with their leftist agenda, this is not about jobs in America. Joe Biden did more to hurt jobs with an executive order on the Keystone Pipeline in his first 100 days than he did to create jobs. And so when we look at this massive spending program that they're talking about, it is really about taking money from the pockets of hardworking Americans and allowing Joe Biden and his administration to dole it out to those that are well connected. It's not, listen, Newsflash, Joe Biden has taken his mask off and will no longer wear it. What mask? The moderate mask. He's no longer moderate Joe. He is leftist Joe, and he's bought into their particular way of doing things.
Because certainly he keeps the other mask on, even though he went out in the North Lawn the other day to tell Americans who've been vaccinated that they don't need to wear it. Change topics. Rudy Giuliani was on with Tucker Carlson last night, his first interview since the FBI raided his home the other morning to take some electronic devices. They didn't want all of the electronic devices, according to Giuliani. Listen to what he told Tucker.
The only time they got perturbed is at the end of the surge, when they had taken about, I'd say, 7 or 8 electronic items of mine. I said, well, don't you want these? And they said, what are they? I said, those are Hunter Biden's hard drives. And they said, no.
Now, I know that over the course of the last year at the White House, you and Rudy Giuliani parted ways on a number of different issues. But do you think that this is politically motivated? And the fact that they want to look at Giuliani and not Hunter Biden is curious.
Well, of course it is. Listen, what the American people hate are two standards. And if we're going to go in and do a search on Rudy Giuliani, and we'll wait to see what the facts say there, but I can tell you I'm not aware of any inappropriate behaviors that he conducted while I was chief of staff. And yet what we also see is they want to turn a blind eye to what we know is obviously at least something that should be investigated as it relates to Hunter Biden. It's kind of like the movie Casablanca. You mean there's gambling going on here? I mean, when we start to see this, we've got to actually make sure that there's one standard. Lady Justice should have a blindfold on, and it shouldn't. She shouldn't be peeking out to just go after Republicans. She should look at everybody equally.
Mark, it's good to have you on the show today for the first time since we started America Reports, and I miss our off-the-record sessions in the White House Chief of Staff's office.
And likewise, it's great to be with you. Congratulations on your new show. Look forward to joining you more.
Terrific. Have a great weekend.